filmed in the East End of Glasgow.
You have Stamford Street, that's more or less the main thoroughfare in Barrowfield, you know. And at the Gallowgate end, you have what they term themselves as a torch. It's a gang, yeah. And at the bottom end, it's the spur, you call them. And on occasion, you get these two, which is only natural as gangs have done through the years. You get them rattling one another. And they'll get them throwing missiles, cans, bottles, what have you, at one another, you know. Well, our house is more or less in no man's land, you know. We're sort of, you know, we were in between it, you know. Not just our house, but other houses, you know, other closes. I went out when they've been doing it, and they haven't bothered me. I mean, this is a personal vendetta between the bottom of the street and the top of the street. Unless either end know you are a member of either faction. The nine times out of 10 they don't bother with you, because I've went to the shop when I've been doing it. I've just kept close out the road, and I went down and got bread, cigs, whatever, and came back up the road again.
You just dodged the bricks?
Yeah. I know it's ludicrous to say this, but sometimes it can be funny. You know, you stand and you watch them squealing and bawling at one another, you know. And it can be quite funny at times, as long as nothing untoward has really happened, you know.
Maybe I'd just anywhere. Yeah. I don't know. Well, right, this is the tap end, right? This is the torch end, right? This is the mob at all rule and all that, right? Down here, that's all the mob, but they all run away and all that, and we go down.
They come up, well, they're game when they come up when we're all waiting. But see, like, when we're all waiting, they all scamper like wee rats going in holes.
A mile to the east of Glasgow city centre, behind the stands of Celtic football ground, is Barrowfield, the hardest place to live in a hard city. It's one of the roughest housing schemes in Britain. At first, the police insisted we had their protection to film here. Later, we moved more freely into the Barrowfield triangle and didn't disappear without trace. But among the 600 or so families here is concentrated a sullen, futile mixture of crime and unemployment, single-parent poverty, and a daily fear of vandalism and violence. A council housing points allocation system distills the problem, protects the better estates, diverts the trouble to Barrowfield. All this was modernised 6 years ago. Already much of it has been destroyed, houses pulled to pieces by their own tenants, burnt, broken and daubed in a continuing tantrum of frustration. Now there's to be a new council initiative. The social workers and officers of Bill Nicholls' housing department are setting up office here, running the gauntlet back into Barrowfield.
About 3 weeks ago, you know, the place was unrecognisable. It had been severely vandalised, including a reasonable fire in the close. Taking the combination lock doors off, now we've got the security man keeping the front door, steel door on, but we're taking these off. The damage to Anwar's shop when they tried to break in, but that re-concreted up.
That's how they got in it?
That's how they got in, through the close. Great job, eh? Go up to the gate here. This is the security gate that protects the upper flats. Keep it locked. Right, some guys jammed their way through here when they were breaking into Anwar's shop. Yeah.
You through there?
Yeah, it's a wee guy, isn't it? Yeah.
Not alarmed?
Right, the lock's alarmed, but the bars aren't. So they trip, you know, they push the bars open and then they trip the alarm. Ingenious. And we are now looking at more, on-site security, and from tonight we'll have a security guard placed here, almost every night, and perhaps more than that if necessary. Well, this is the new Housing Department office located here. This, I think, we'll probably use as one of the main office spaces, or maybe a reception area. Once it's completed, carpeted. Still a bit of work to do here,
What's going to happen with the windows?
Right, we've got the mesh light window still on, and the security door for the veranda. Those will come off the day we're ready to move in. A local shop downstairs has been repeatedly attacked, and most recent occasion has been when they managed to chisel their way right through the party wall between the close and the shop and get in.
And how many people will be employed here altogether?
Now, this is, at the moment, a bit of an open book. I think the main person who needs to be employed in the short term, and obviously this is what we're targeting at the moment, is the initiative coordinator, who will be a senior member of staff who will be there to develop the initiative project. Social work department have 2 community development officers located in this area. They'll be there. The housing staff, who at the moment there's 2 housing assistants and a senior housing assistant, they'll be located here. And the big step forward and the big increase in staff will come from the estate supervisors. This is a scheme which falls somewhere between parks and cleansing. It's going to include about 15 people doing estate clean-up jobs, that kind of thing.
And that's just for Barrowfield?
That's just for Barrowfield.
But among all the accepted social problems, the clichés of the inner city, there's a dimension of Barrowfield peculiar to Glasgow. 2 or 3 times a week, families watch from their windows as the Torch and the Spur, successors to the razor gangs of the 60s, turn Stamford Street into what the Scottish papers have billed as Nightmare Alley.
Well, the reason this is called Nightmare Alley was going back about 3-4 years ago. This mob down there called the Spur would come up, right? We were just hitting the hatches and all that. So it was that bad, rain for the Times and the police, just put in a Monday morning in the Times and the Record, in the Times it was called Mini Chicago, and in a Record it was called Nightmare Alley. So that is why us Torch boys are called the Nightmare Alley.
You say you use hatchets?
Swords and everything. Swords, stakes.
What kind of swords?
And you've been in a butcher's, getting upon a mince. Well, you walk out and you blag them. And that's that. Put them down your, you go like that, put them down your juke, put it in, and that's it. You got to wait in and do the milky. Fuck's sake, man.
But you don't use fists?
Fists on them. Stick, you don't go to the guys, man. It's a bruise, the bruise goes away. You go like that, man. That's it, finished. Scars, man.
So when you're fighting, you're bound to get scars?
That's you under attack, that's you promoted.
Are you proud of the scars you get?
Oh, you don't come proud of that. No, I don't. Well, we've not had much. See, if you had to strip them, no, strip that mob down there.
These scars are bloodies.
It's like a map of Scotland.
What's wrong with this scheme?
It's not a scheme, it's the boys that all fight. That's what it is. Never boys. Oh, you shut up, that's just what she thinks about it. Saturday night, that's the best, isn't it? You're windy.
Would you go out with a lad who fought in Stamford Street?
No, I wouldn't.
Why not?
Because if you went anywhere, they would end up doing it, and you would end up winning, It's a fight with everybody.
You would end up getting into the fight as well?
Aye, because if you were out with somebody and they get a doing, you would get into an wouldn't you?
If they were done over, you would get done over too?
Shut up, dude.
So which part of the street are you from? Are you from Spurland or from Torchland?
Spur.
Is the Spur the best?
No, the best. You need to look round for. None of the best.
But most of the Torch and the Spur will end up in the hands of the law, probably on the road to prison. The front line of the intensive policing of Barrowfield is Kenny Ross, one-time shot put champion. He's now the scheme's community bobby.
75% of the folk in this scheme are law-abiding, good-living, salt-of-the-earth folk. That would be my estimation. It's just a small minority that's giving us all the trouble. But if we get rid of them, it'd be a pleasure to walk about here.
It's a Morris Marina yellow colour, not listed as stolen. Keepers are Marion McMahon.
I have asked them from the top end of the street, I've asked them from the bottom end of the street, and I'm still waiting for a suitable explanation why they fight with each other. They don't like to see each other getting to jail, but they can't give me a good reason why they want to fight with each other. They go to the same schools, and then at night they come out and start chasing each other. They'll puff out their puny chests. I think they're a big man.
What are you hanging about here for? You live here, but you don't. You get on with your own house. Beat it. Come. Good. Move. Move.
If you show fear, you can chuck it. You have always got to have that appearance that you're capable of doing the job. You must never show fear. You can hang up your uniform if you show fear. It would just trample you into the ground.
Shut your mouth.
I never lose respect for parents of kids who go astray.
Morning. Lovely day. How you doing? What's your name?
Charles.
Charles.
They're easily led. You'll get somebody who's a leader and they just follow on.
Charles Robson still got your vehicle?
1, 2, 3. Miss Polly had a dolly who was sick. So she phoned for the doctor to come quick. The doctor came with his bag and his hat, and he knocked on the door with a rat-tat-tat. He looked at the dolly and he shook his head, and he said, Miss Polly has a drink. He wrote on a paper for a pill. I'll be back in the morning with my pill.
There's an inevitable loss of innocence in Barrowfield. Kids ground into the mould as soon as they can walk. Families without the chance, some without the will, to break the vicious circle. The standards of the Barrowfield clan are different. You can't apply the criteria of affluent West End Glasgow that lies just across the high street. Because with all the social welfare in the world, these are the people of the shanty town outside the gates. They've been put in their place, and now they run it to their own rules.
The kids, you know, they don't have a trust in you like the elderly folk have. They've got trust and respect. It stems from if they won't go to school, if they won't even hurry up behind their mothers, it's always, hurry up or I'll get the policeman to you. So they're brought up to be frightened of the police, which I think is wrong. So if they don't eat a supper or go to bed, I'll get Kenny Ross to you. Well, that's maybe one person's opinion of me. There would be hundreds who would like to write something good about me in the world, but they just don't do it.
But it's not exactly Dixon and Dock Green community policing, is it?
No, it's certainly not that.
There must be a temptation not to contact the police, to try and sort it out yourself on an estate like this.
We get calls. Well, we used to get a lot of calls for, you know, if a person's injured, but they would never tell you who done the injury.
You just find somebody injured lying in the clothes?
Somebody injured and nobody's seen anything happen.
Does that happen with the vandalism and the robbery here as well? People turn a blind eye and they...
No, we get quite a lot of information regarding the muggings and the vandalism. Quite a lot of information regarding that.
But generally anonymous information?
Anonymous, it has to be.
Is that because if people were found to be telling the police?
Their life would be a hell.
It's normal in Barrowfield, as ordinary as the show of wedding presents beginning down Stamford Street. A Glasgow hen party for Colleen Dunbar.
Hiya. Hi, Lena. Hiya.
To see you.
Just get out in 11. Just now. And here and here.
It's as normal as Colleen and her fiancé Michael, both being out of work.
I mean, it's only how many days now? It's 3, 4 days till you get married. Are you nervous about getting married?
I'm alright.
Yeah?
I wasn't nervous at first, I wasn't bothering at first, but see this week, it's terrible.
Are you nervous about it?
Michael doesn't bother.
Have you planned out what you're going to do? Are you going to? Do you know when you're going to have kids, for example?
I'm not having kids for ages.
What do you mean ages?
But 2 years anyway. 2 to 3 years till we get my house fixed up anyway.
Does it ever bother you that you won't have enough money to get by on, or?
I don't know. Me, yeah, it does bother us in a way, but if I get a job, I think it'd be alright. I really need a good job, no?
But are you applying for jobs?
I've wrote away for a lot of jobs. But I never get any reply or anything like that.
But I mean, what's the place like you're going to move into?
It's nice and quiet.
The area's got a wee name for itself, but a wee bit weird got.
Street's lovely, we're in and spotless.
Quiet now, but it was about a Saturday and I thought it was a Sunday, and we're not Wednesday about renting.
But your mum was saying that you would actually like to have stayed here in Barrowfield.
I like it here because I'm used to it. I know everybody, my pals are here.
No.
I mean, when you're coming back and forward and, you know, going home at night.
Come down at night time and that. And
He's even come down here with a good drink now at the weekend, and they've all been fighting. He's just walked by, and they've just says a word to him.
But would you like to live here?
I think it would take a while to get used to, but no. Nah, I don't think so. Nah.
What do you think of the lads who are in the gangs, you know, who
I've
go for
got a
each
lot of
other?
the boys, and some of the boys are dead nice. I've known them for years. I've been about with a lot of them when I was still at school and all that. And some of the boys are dead nice.
So why did they do that?
I don't know. I think maybe just bored them and all, nothing else to do.
They're just bored.
Aye. See, they're starting at that corner. Nothing else for them here. Nothing else to do.
The street corner, killing time. Ordinary things in Barrowfield.
I've got to say, Andy, it looks a bit like something out of the Wild West.
Like Andy Cochran, having a hobby.
You're obviously pretty keen on security.
Oh, you've got to be sometimes. Well, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter whether you own a shop or anything else. You still need to be secure-minded.
Sandwiched here between Celtic Park on one side and the Barrowfield estate on the other, do you not have a lot of trouble from people breaking in and doing damage around here?
It's not an unusual occurrence, right enough.
Now, I'd call this a pigeon loft. What do you call it?
A ducat.
Ducat?
Yeah.
How many birds can you keep in here, then?
Up to about 20.
So is that a locked inner door as well?
Yeah.
Good Lord. We teach Fort Knox a thing or two here. Can I come up?
Yes.
Well, having come to the top of the loft, we're now going back down into the bowels of it.
Yep.
What's the difference between the two sorts of birds here, Andy?
The difference? Well, the ones up the stair, they go out flying. These ones, they stay in here all the time to sit on top of eggs. You know, so that we could breed them.
Have you any young ones here at the moment?
One of the youngest is this one. That's maybe 3 weeks, just over 3 weeks. But that's about all. That is pretty young.
Yeah. Now, what's the object of the sport? I mean, do you race them, for example?
No. No, the object of it is to catch other people's birds. You know, they put them out and we put one out. And it's more or less just a tackle. They go against each other.
So you let one pigeon off from here and you hope
Yeah.
it nicks somebody else's pigeon and brings it back with it?
Exactly. That's it.
Do you notice that these pigeons have individual characters?
Well, they have. They definitely have, especially ones for flying. There's one up there. When you whistle on them, they're supposed to get up and fly. Well, they're supposed to, as I said. But this one, you've got to talk to it to get it up to fly. You know, it's just a wee quirk they've got, you know. It's just running about here. You know, what you call showing. It's blowing its chest up.
The pulse of tradition beats strongly here in the East End, father to son. The boys on the Barrowfield corners today run the same streets that Jamie Barnes fought over 30 years ago with his fledgling gang.
Young Shanghai. Wasn't really, it became a gang, but basically we started off just as a group of guys that banded together. Because in the days in Brighton, when you were a lone fish walking about, you were easy meat. You were always bait, you know. So we just formed a lot of good guys in the gang, but basically we became a gang, you know.
You mean you feel you were pressured into it?
Yeah, they went about with a mob, but you didn't go about at all. Aye. With territorial rights, you know, there's places I couldn't go, and places other mobs couldn't come into us, you know. You were limited. I was tied for about 5 years for Parkhead to Brighton Cross. I couldn't go outside that. You know, which just kind of stumps your growth a bit. A typical night was hanging about the corner, making a nuisance of ourselves. You know, shouting and bawling and having a carry on. But you can do that when you're a kid. But as you get older, it's no carry on, it's a breach of the peace then. Employment here too. One time we went to the gas works.
The gas works, I used to know a guy.
Oh, Baltic Street was rough, okay. I just kept into my MV scene up until I was about, say, 14-year-old, 13 when I went to my secondary school. And that was the first mob I ever hung about in the school. It was really rough, the school kind of thing, you know. Getting up and down to school was a gauntlet, because you had to pass different schools going up, you know. And they always wanted to attack you. So we formed, it was just the guys in the class that we go in with. You know, we just started going about together. And even at night times, we started going about socially. You couldn't get money for booze during the week, you know, so eventually we took to lifting things. If then on, it was just a downhill struggle. And then we started getting a name as a gang, so other mobs would come into the area and try to take us, and so we would get involved in gang fights then. We just caught up my mad rush. Before you know where you're, the slammer was getting ever closer. And I could feel it, man, you know. I says to myself, if I don't get out of this, I'm going to end up in the nick.
You've got young boys, right, unemployed, right? Okay, and this does sound like the social worker bit, right? But you've got young boys who are unemployed with possibly no chance of getting a job, right? The only way they guys are going to achieve anything is by becoming infamous, right? The only way most of these young boys that I'm talking about, right, are going to really hit the headlines is through fame, right?
You join a gang and go out and fight against others?
Aye, I mean, as I say, like, put it this way, how many really nice client boys do you know? You know what I mean? And I mean, how many times you read about a guy doing a good turn in the papers, right? Now, the thing is, right, what these guys is doing is wrong, right? Now, they're no stupid, they know what they're doing's wrong. But nobody's going to stand up. Nobody's going to say it's not a good idea to have a gang fight myself. But if they have a good look at the whole thing and say, I don't deserve this, my kid doesn't deserve it, right? I mean, even if you don't give a damn about yourself, you've still got wins, right? And I mean, there's no two ways about it. No kid should be reared in a place where chances are, right, that they're going to either end up in a gang or end up in prison.
The rock scene, when it came, was a vehicle for people that, when the band thing sort of came, it got me out of it, and I was really glad. And through the band, I was too busy to start running about with the boys. I could see them maybe now and again, but then eventually just faded away for them. The band is a 5-piece lineup. We call it Cochise because I'm heavily into the North American Indian, Apache in particular. I read Cochise's life story. He was a great man, great leader. He was loyal. Basically, he was just trying to do what we were doing, banding together to survive.
Monday morning, without warning, she up and went away. Tuesday felt bad. In fact, no bad. I think I'll commit sideways. Mother she never told me that heartache follows happiness. Mother she used to scold me for crying on her new dress, for crying on her new dress. And wind up, but I tried my newfound freedom at last. I met this lady, thought she was easy to trust, then I had to pass. Mother, why don't you take me? Why don't you take me and hold me to your breast? Mother, why don't you own up? Why don't you own up? You could not care less. Well, you could not care less. Like all the rest, you're the best, mother.
The rituals of East End living, handed down too from mother to daughter. Colleen Dunbar, dressed as it would have been done half a century ago.
Oh, you feel really attractive like that, don't you?
No, I'm here.
Who's made all these for you?
That's it. Over here. That's you.
That's your beautiful lassie. Oh, you're lovely.
I'm going to give it in a minute.
Right, a kiss, 50 pence, a pound. That's it. Yeah, we kiss you, but a pound or 50 pence, right?
Selling kisses in almost pagan rite. Money collected in a chamber pot lined with salt and baby dolls. After the wedding next week, it'll provide £40 or £50 worth of financial security for Colleen in a new home away from Barrowfield.
What's the deal?
We heard a bang at the door. We thought it was just somebody kicking the door. You know, carry on. So we went out into the hall. We opened the lounge door and the living room door, and we were just entering the hall when the door was completely kicked in, and here 3 or 4 lads coming up the hall with swords and weapons in their hand.
When you say swords, I mean, you actually mean something as long as a sword?
Yeah.
It was actually a sword. No,
Well,
actually,
the description could give it as the kind of thing that we may have used in the Napoleonic Wars or something. You know, it's more like a sabre. And a lad was coming down the hall with it over his head, double-fisted, you know, two-handed over his head, with it raised high, you know, in a striking motion. Pushed my wife into the living room.
He pushed me into the living room. I shut the living room door. I was right up against the living room door. And I don't know how they couldn't get in, because they were actually kicking at the living room door for to get at me.
They were trying to get at you as well?
Yeah, they were trying to get at me. But unfortunately, I had the strength that night for to keep the door shut.
And after that, things happened too quick. I made a dive for the window, and the chap jumped back out again. I felt a blow in my back. And when I came out the window, I found this bloody great big wound in my side. Opened up, you know, like a mouth. My upper intestine was protruding from the wound, and they could also see my kidney. And when I seen that, I puckered it up and held it. I closed it with my fist and kept my other hand over it. Physically, I'm healing. The scars will fade, but mentally, it's had a bad effect on me, mentally, because I don't sleep too good at night. It's still foremost in my mind. There's not a day goes by, but you know, it comes back to me in great detail.
The Battle of Barrowfield, that makes up the constant workload of Terry McEwen's Citizens' Rights Office.
You know, when you had to be moved out because, you know, I started being bad.
People fighting an intractable council point system to get out.
So, since January, you've been seeing a doctor?
Yeah, yeah. I've been on pills constantly for January. In fact, I've just received a second, you know, another lot there.
Right.
A second medical certificate.
What kind of pills is the doctor been giving you?
I've got some here to get them out to let you see. I've had 3 courses. This is the 3rd course of this. This was sleeping tablets they gave me. I couldn't sleep. And this was another course. So it's actually 5 courses.
Right. Mentioned here your son, age 13. He found a man who'd hanged himself.
Yeah, it was a young chap down the staircase. He'd hanged himself. And he was going down the stair. And the woman happened to come out the door. She was blind. And she said that she thought there was somebody in her cupboard. So she asked him to go in. And the chap was lying there. You know, and this upset him greatly, because we'd sent him away as well, Terry. So we did, and he said treatment for the doctor.
It says here his nightmares, is that because he...
Because of this happening.
Right. Okay. Right, go on. The 1st of January, your house was broken into.
Yeah.
Is this the picture?
That's some of the photographs we were able to take.
Right.
You know, just after the police had been.
I think it's up to us to argue with the district councillor, right, and point to him that you are a special case, right? And you showed this to the councillor.
Councillor, everybody's seen them.
And what did he think of these?
He thought it was disgusting.
Disgusting, but he still didn't mention special cases. I mean, for years there's been all sorts of trendy community workers and fab ideas coming through Barrowfield, but that's all there been. I mean, the amount of nutters that was through the scheme, right, who were there because it was interesting and it was very sort of trendy, right? And basically, I think the bastards were there just to get a reference for their next job. Because if you worked in Barrowfield, you can work anywhere, sort of thing. And in the 2 year, from August 78 to August 80, there was 274 referrals for homeless persons into the Barrowfield area. A lot of these people, right, for various different reasons, couldn't cope with Barrowfield. Barrowfield was a place that, right, nobody really wanted to stay. Right? So what they done was they picked the people who just had, you know, the least clout, which was homeless persons, right?
Good evening. Now, we're ready to start the meeting on the housing allocation system. You should have 2 pieces of paper in front of you. The minutes of the meeting we had last week, or the week before.
There may be new initiatives and a whole calendar of meetings, but even the tenants who go to them know that they and probably their children are in Barrowfield for life.
I think everybody knows pretty well what the big problems are. We've got a lot of empty houses. The empty houses get vandalised, they get wrecked, they have to be bricked up, it brings the appearance of the place down.
It's an issue.
You know, I mean, we find it difficult to let houses in the area, especially ground floor houses. And if we try to be more selective, it means the houses will lie empty longer. You know, you can't really have it both ways in a sense. If you go for getting rid of all the empty houses, it means that you take the chance of getting tenants you don't want. If you go for making sure that you get the tenants you do want, you get the certainty of a lot more empty houses, or at least the houses lying empty for a lot longer.
You say here that Barrowfield is an area of low demand and the applicants who are willing to take accommodation. Can you tell us just how many people are willing to come into it?
There's a lot more people want to move out than want to move in.
I think a lot of people feel the same, that the point system should never have been brought in to start with.
It doesn't really matter why the housing system was as it was 2 years ago. It doesn't matter what the results of that was, what caused those results 2 years ago. What matters is where we are now and where we can go in the future. I mean, tell me, Terry, tell me in 5 minutes why it matters what the homeless persons unit did 2 years ago.
Why it matters? Because, as I said, I mean, the people are saying, right, that Barrowfield, you can't build a strong community in a place where people are forced in there when they don't want to go and they don't want to stay there.
But they're not going to be forced in the future. They're not forced in now.
It doesn't matter, they're forced in. I mean, they're there.
Okay.
Let me put it this way, these people still haven't got enough points to get good houses anywhere.
Right. Well,
so the point system is all geared towards keeping the good areas good and the bad areas bad.
Okay. I'm not here to defend the point system as it stands at the moment. I'm here, if you want to explain it, I'm not here to defend it. That's the plan.
Barrowfield is a good scheme, basically, because there is good people in Barrowfield, and they're suffering. These poor people can't get out. These are people that have been in the scheme since it was built, and have all that time have lived a respectable, law-abiding life until these zombies come in.
But we went through, I mean, a lot of people say, I know what you're going through. But a lot, I says to them, I says, a lot of you don't know what we went through, because you have never experienced it as what we did.
Will you ever go back to Barrowfield?
No way.
Never.
No.
Excuse me.
I can't even face going back to the house to get my furniture. I can't.
Have you been offered another house?
Yes, Barrowfield again. Living in fear is an awful bad thing in your mind. You can't sleep, you can't enjoy yourself, you're frightened to open the door, you're frightened in case it happens again, and if it happened again, I don't think I could take it. I took it well because of the kids, but I don't think I could take it the next time if it happened. I don't think I could stand it.
Can't you hear me? Your boy's in a pretty bad way. Mother, mother, can't you hear me? I've got to get away. Mother, why don't you take me? Why don't you take me and hold me to your breast? Mother, why don't you own up? Why don't you own up? You could not care less. Well, you could not care less. Like all the rest, mother. Can't you hear me calling? Mother, I'm lost and I'm lonely. Mother!
Next week's programme examines the immensely powerful community spirit that makes Glasgow's rehoused EastEnders return frequently to what is left of the streets and pubs of home. The Bond is next Sunday at 9:40.